Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rudy's 1/6 World for a special Saturday edition of my First Thoughts videos. And today we'll be discussing the latest announcement from Inart, and they're kicking off the year with their 6-scale Aragorn figure from The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. And it is coming in two packages, the standard and premium, and the main difference is that the premium edition includes the rooted hair, 2 additional hands, as well as the shards of the shattered Anduril. Now, this figure was shown at a show or convention, and I think the general response on social media was that it definitely needed some improvement. I think if these promo shots are anything to go by, they absolutely did that. They improved on the sculpt and just knocked it out of the park. And I think if you look at some of the shots, where you're really impressed is that they almost look like they're promotional shots taken directly from the movie at some point. I mean, this sculpt is that good. I think it's without a doubt one of the most impressive sculpts I've seen in 6-scale figures. So that's kudos to Inart for that. Now, I originally wasn't going to cover this announcement just because I 100% won't be ordering. And that's not because of the look of the figure or anything like that, because both versions look phenomenal. I just don't want to get into another license, but I think there are a few key things here that are worth discussing, particularly as it pertains to Inart and Inart going forward. First of all, some people have already received their Joker figures, and the overall consensus seems to be overwhelmingly positive. So it looks like Inart has a huge hit on their hands, which they really needed off the bat. And I'll be curious as more people start to get them if there are any issues. But for now, I think it looks like a huge success for them. And for us collectors, it's a sigh of relief knowing they seem to have delivered. So I think if that's what we can expect from their other releases, we're golden. Second, the cost. I have been hard on Inart with the cost of their figures because it seems like they were aiming for another group of collectors, almost like the statue market. And I know you might say $100 over more standard figure pricing isn't bad, but when you look at someone like me who picks up a decent number of figures, that $100 matters. With Aragorn, I'm actually really happy with the pricing. The premium is on pre-order for around $480, so definitely on the higher end, and it should be expected with the rooted hair. But the surprise here for me is the standard at $330, and that's shipped from some sites, which I think is super competitive and definitely puts Inart in line with other 6-scale manufacturers. And look, in that version you are getting the sculpted hair as opposed to the rooted, but I like that, and I actually prefer that. I'm not a fan of rooted at all, and look, obviously these Inart releases so far have had much better rooted hair than anything else in the market, anything else that Hot Toys or other companies have produced to this date. So my biggest concern personally is always just the upkeep with rooted. So I personally like the sculpted because I think it'll always look as good as the day you got it. And at the cost, I'm loving it. Also, in general, I will say I think Inart did a much better job with their promo pictures here. Their past promo shots have all been a little more stagnant in kind of museum posing, which might work for the statue collector market, but for 6-scale collectors, we want to see the articulation and posability on display. With this release, they're definitely showcasing that, and there's even a great shot of Aragorn kneeling that just looks amazing. And I think it might be benefiting from the magnetic base, but it's showing us what we could get. So I'm impressed by this figure because obviously the sculpt is incredible, but the rest of the figure, the weapons, the accessories, the clothing, and the tailoring on that clothing, everything just looks so good and so realistic. I'm really blown away by what's being offered here. And while I'm not jumping into this particular license, if you are picking up Lord of the Rings figures, these are clearly the best on the market and probably some of the most impressive 6-scale releases so far. So for me, this gives me a lot of hope for their Dune and their Harry Potter license, which are the ones I'm waiting for. Because I think quality-wise, they're going to knock these out of the park. But if they can stay at the price point, I may be picking up my first Inart figures. So hopefully they showcase those at some point soon. But again, I think my big takeaway here is price point, because now I really do feel like they're in to compete. I think the quality looks to be there and be impressive. So now that the price is more in line with the competitors, it'll be interesting to see how this year unfolds for them. So let me know your thoughts on this release. I think it looks incredible. And the only real negative I'll mention for the deluxe, I like the shattered Anduril. But from a display point of view, it would have been nice for that deluxe to include kind of the pillar where they had the sword and the pieces of the sword, just for a display point of view. But that's it. Otherwise, everything else is just phenomenal. So again, thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts. And if you are enjoying the content, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll touch base on the next video.